Whoa, time for another draft science video presentation, I believe anyway. Yes, okay, it is recording. Yes, had to check. Technical difficulty. Sorry. Ruins the continuity, but what are you going to do? So I'll begin by pointing out that I am offering, I'll say it, $2,000. $2,000 reward. Okay, for the science channel, science related YouTube channel with more than 100,000 subscribers, and it has to be like active. It can't be a channel that hasn't posted a video in 10 years or something like that, because those are going to be dead subscribers. But anyway, just to play, or if they wish, allow me to be interviewed for an hour. One of these videos, the 3 videos on the website, what is a photon, what is gravity, and what is energy, one of those videos. And they can play the video, 17-minute video, and critique it and insult it and do whatever they want, or nothing. Just play it as a regular video on their channel. And, if you can convince some channel to do it for less money, you can have the difference. So if you can convince some channel that doesn't know about me, that they can get $1,000 for just playing a 17-minute video, for less money, then yeah, you can keep the difference. So little incentive for the little people out there. Anyway, yeah, so it's still at my discretion. I'm certainly not saying any channel qualifies. It certainly has to meet normal standards. You can't have 100,000 subscribers and your average video gets 500 views. No, that's not going to work, because those are fake subscribers essentially. So anyway, on to the rest of the the rest of the video, which is just going to be a reiteration of the last video. Frankly, was pretty good, and I probably will put it in the subjects category, and just highlighting the fundamental argument about how all of physics is pretty corrupt. Not much of it can be trusted. Sort of like NASA after they did their arsenic life form announcements. You just can't trust them. I've demonstrated and showed how there's plenty of examples where the experiments have been engineered for you. Okay, the truth isn't told. Like a Ken Wheeler, they'll lie about some solar cell that doesn't do exactly what the other one does, and they just leave out little parts where you drill the holes for the LED light. Just leave out the truth, deceive people with silly experiments. You see it all over the place. Even the dissidents do this. They swirl stuff in water, or they'll do some other, poke a magnet into a cart screen and tell you all kinds of stories about what's happening. So instead of doing the common experiment, sprinkle the iron filings or something, they have to do it in some way that where the experiment looks a little different, a little funky. And so anyway, I've been over all this, I made it clear, these arguments have been made. I've got no counter argument. I mean, zero counter argument to what has been stated. Nothing. I mean, all I keep getting is checks on my integrity, not any concession that science lacks integrity, that the arguments are convoluted and obviously, in some cases, directly contradictory and clearly deceptive. So, I mean, I'm doing my job, okay? And you're the people not doing your job, frankly. It's really lame for you to just keep, implying that I'm making the mistakes when I'm showing you their mistake. And you're saying somehow, oh, their mistakes don't matter. The fact that you can't trust them, oh, that doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. And until you have a counter argument for it or an explanation for it, it matters a lot. Because you don't have one. You don't have a reasonable excuse for them never repeating the Eddington experiment, for all of science to never have repeated such a fundamental experiment. you have no excuse. There's no explanation except that's really shitty science. I mean, they're violating one of their fundamental principles, repeat it or shut up, and they're violating it overtly for 100 years. And then again, I'm pointing out the two-slit experiment. 1801. They're using drawings from 1801 that are overtly incorrect. They get the wrong answer. And they're still using them as if they're evidence. And see, you should be convinced by this 200-year-old failed drawing. And then I could go into the momentum argument. 1/2 mv squared. Absolutely no rational excuse for this to be accepted as a theory of energy. Makes zero sense. Doesn't fit 99.99999% of the experiments you can do. It won't make any sense. Yet it's embraced. I mean, it's not just accepted, it's embraced as if it's so perfectly credible and so magnificently accurate. And yet makes no sense at all. So, I've done my job. Clearly, you morons aren't doing yours, which is to say, good point, Gary, or shut the fuck up! Anyway, has it ever occurred to you that you may not have the intellectual academic background to comprehend relativistic and quantum math enough to give them a fair hearing? So I don't have to understand the Einstein's field equations to point out you never prove light is bent by gravity, that there's no experiment that proves that all you have is the Eddington experiment and scatter experiments. Experiments that clearly can be explained as scatter and not have anything to do with gravity. So that fact doesn't require me to be a mathematical genius. And this whole comprehend, that's the whole point. Are you comprehending it, or are you just trusting? I'm pointing out reason not to trust, and you're just telling me I trust them, because you don't comprehend it, right? You're not coming here to talk to me, to insult me, essentially, based on the fact that you do understand it, and you understand how it is really, really cool, and it really, really explains everything so perfectly that nobody could ever deny it if they knew this special little math trick. Yeah, they can, because the fact still remains. Okay, why are they gilding the lily? Why are they distorting the truth? Why are they not telling you when they're doing the radar experiment? Well, the truth is the simple thing called jamming, radio signal jamming, has exactly the same mathematics, exactly the same geometry. If I wanted to prove to you how, if I wanted to show you how to jam a radio signal, I would do exactly the same experiment I just did to prove interference. Woo, 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 woo. I would do exactly the same experiment. Do they tell you that? Is it honest to leave that out? Is that anything like reasonable? Is it a reasonable omission to not tell people that, well, yeah, the experiment I just did proving interference, well, yeah, it also proves a lot of other stuff, so, exactly contrary stuff. That's much simpler explanation. Doesn't involve any gremlins and woo and bullshit. Yeah, it's exactly the same math. Do they tell you that? Is that honest? Does that really make sense? I mean, the whole point is to have this underlying perception of this Occam's razor kind of sensible notion that if you have two explanations, wacky gremlins and stupid carelessness, for why your sock is missing, okay, which one do I go with? The simple one, the one that seems, well, yes, that fits all the evidence, stupid. Fits all the evidence. No, let's blame gremlins instead. Fuck. Alright. So he says I haven't given this science a fair hearing. I mean, what have I done that's unfair? Is it or is it not true that the drawings I did for the double slit and single slit experiment make perfect sense? They fit exactly what happens. They explain why it happens. They show you mechanically how it can happen. So how have I cheated by just demonstrating that when they say no particle model can explain, that's just words? It has no credibility at all, because of course I came up with one that explains it just fine. So clearly it can. So it's their credibility that's on the line here. They're the ones saying no particle model can do it. We tried them all when they didn't try any. So let's just understand again. How are they going to fix that? They thought of all the possible alternative explanations? No. They just say this crap. You have to believe all the evidence says. No, all the evidence doesn't say. All the experiments don't say. Those are just words they're using, and I've pointed out how those words are lies. Okay, they're not true. They talk about experiments and results of experiments that never took place. They just never ever happened. And they talk about them as if, that's where we generated our real knowledge from. And these were thought experiments, and they didn't even think them through at all. Again, I can show you thousands of examples of people citing experiments regarding the two-slit experiment that have never taken place. And somehow I have to defend the credibility of my accusations? No, I don't. They're on their face credible. You're the one who has to explain the facts. I've told you facts. I haven't told you lies. I haven't just made up stories. These are actual facts. It's an actual fact that the Eddington experiment has never been done with better technology. It's an absolute fucking fact. All right. Perhaps you just don't understand it, so you dismiss it as weird. No, I'm not the one even calling it that. I'm the one telling you none of this stuff is weird. They invented this notion that things are weird and magical. I didn't invent these notions of weird and magical. They did. They're the ones. Whoa, it's so strange. There's the simplest pattern in the universe. Look at this. There's an on-off pattern. The simplest pattern you could possibly create in the universe. Oh, let's all panic and have to invent gremlins. No, that's them, okay? Has nothing to do with me. Weird and magical has nothing to do with anything I'm saying the universe has any component of. They're the ones that invented these words. They're the ones who say, that they have to resort to these magical explanations because the results are just too frickin' confusing. When they're not that confusing. Again, it's the ferrocell. Now, if I show a scientist, a physicist, a ferrocell, I don't think he's going to fall for it. He's not going to sit there and say, oh shit, they're right. Light is bent by magnetism. Look at that. It's bent all over the place. They're not going to fall for it. But you'll fall for it when they do it to you. So when the physicist does it to you, when the physicist plays the little jerky game of I'm just going to highlight a silly experiment and then I'm going to give you a preposterous explanation, I'm going to leave out the facts, I'm not going to show you the real mechanics, and then I'm going to invent some other experiments and pretend I did them and explain them to you. That's what you're being duped by. And then you're accusing me of being flawed in my judgment and not being careful enough or not understanding enough about the subject, even though I've watched thousands of videos on these specific subjects. I've attempted to glean whatever information exists in the registrar that's publicly available to find my defect, and I haven't found it. Again, when the New York Times said Einstein right, did they include in there? But the guy who did the experiment actually said in his journal he wouldn't stake his life on these results. And he actually said the weather was so bad I got 10% of what I was hoping for. So he does an experiment where he's hoping for something, as a quality of experiment, and he got 10% of it. So, and the experiment's rather extraordinary. So it's an extraordinarily difficult experiment to do, and he got 10% of the quality of data, 10% of what he was hoping for. And it wasn't even a perfect eclipse to start with. And he got 10%. Did they put that in the New York Times article? No, they didn't. Is that good physics? Is that good science? Not to point out, well, the experiment was done in completely horrible conditions. I was dropping things off the Leaning Tower of Pisa in the middle of a fucking earthquake. Yeah, my results might not be too good, huh? But no, we'll write New York Times headlines. I mean, isn't this just Tesla bullshit? Isn't this just fabiology? Let's just make up all kinds of stories about what physics has done. What else is there here? And again, you're questioning my integrity. You're questioning my intelligence. You're questioning my honesty. I mean, this is just such bullshit. How much more do I spell it out? So I offer $2,000 to be debunked. No takers. All right. I give you 3 simple videos making 3 simple arguments. Okay. No counter arguments. Nothing. 0. Not one element of those videos put into question by some sort of explanation. This experiment demonstrates. This proves you wrong. Nothing. 0. Absolutely 0. And here you are questioning my integrity. Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong. Yes, you are. Okay, I mean, please. Here you are just saying some kind of, you don't have a degree, and you might not understand it, and you blah 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 blah. All these things that somehow I have made the deficient argument that there's something in what I said that is in some way insufficient. Like the facts aren't facts. The things I stated as facts, factual conditions, the fact that an explanation for radar jamming would be exactly the same experiment. If I wanted to demonstrate how to jam a radio, I would do exactly the same experiment. Now, how does that put me? How is my integrity questionable on that fact? The argument is, why aren't they telling you that? When they tell you you have to believe in gremlins, why aren't they showing you a bunch of socks behind a dryer? Yeah. Why? All right. I'm not saying you're wrong and relativity is right. Well, you pretty much are. Okay. I'm just questioning your confidence in your view. How could I be unconfident until I get some piece of counter evidence? When I'm confident nobody attempted to detect a photon passively because it can't be done. All right. First, there's no record of anybody creating such a device. There's no record of anybody having the capacity to do such a thing. So, and then of course there is no experiment. So why shouldn't I be confident? There's no way they should be talking about what happens when the detectors are turned on and off, because nobody can make these detectors. And in the electron experiment, the experiment is so tiny and in such a tiny space inside of an electron microscope. Yeah, there's no chance that you're going to be putting detectors in there. So the whole thing is a fable. It's a story they tell. It has nothing to do with a single fact or any kind of reality. It just has to do with the fact that they're desperate to prop up a silly story. It's a silly frickin' story. They want to believe, they want to for some reason, and they're cheating, and they're overtly doing it. So let's not pretend there's nothing other than an overt effort to cheat. So what does that say about all of you people? It says the science has no credibility, and it says you defenders have no credibility. You're just religious kooks. You're religious fanatics defending religious nonsense. You want to believe in the fable. You want to believe, oh, Jesus was friendly and love. And you're just doing the same thing to science. You're just breaking it again with this human bullshit of having to justify yourselves and make yourselves more than you are. You have to have your quantum entanglement, because without it, you're just a fucking talking fish. And you can't stand that fact. Are you saying there are no possible way relativity could be right? No. I'm saying it can't be right on the fraudulent bullshit evidence. I'm saying that you have far less than the evidence required to demonstrate this as a truth. You're saying gremlins exist, and all you have is a scale. You have a little piece of a scale. All right? That could come off a lizard. It could come off a lot of things. And you're saying, there, proof, gremlins exist. Look, it's even green. Gremlins exist. Gremlins exist. I'm saying the simple fact that radioactive isotopes decay at a different rate based on the environment they're in that's not proof of relativity. And what I'm saying is, clearly one of the elements of relativity was this idea that light is twice as bent by gravity. I'm saying certainly the Eddington experiment doesn't prove that. Okay, it's a really bad experiment done with in really bad circumstances, and it's never been repeated. So I have very good reason to say, why should I believe in gremlins if that's all you have? All you have is your little green scale. You're going to put it in a freaking, big piece of ember and pretend it's, the holy grail. And it's a pile of crap. It's no different than the creationists showing up with their fake fossil, of a human imprint on top of a dinosaur fossil. What's the difference? All right. Are you saying there's relativity could be right? I'm saying it doesn't make. I'm saying what they're claiming is there is no absolute reality. They're claiming relativity somehow indicates that there's no real thing called velocity in the real universe, in the absolute universe. And I'm saying that's obviously way beyond the scope of their theory. So I'll accept the fact that there's relative events. I mean, obviously I'm relatively moving with this flashlight through space, and we are being hit by common forces that are moving us through the universe. Unseen forces, but we can know they're there, and we're both being compelled to move in a direction. Okay, so we have something in common, and then we can have things in common. When I drop this flashlight, now we have things in common, because now it's going to be affected by another force because I'm not protecting it against that force. So I can understand that as relativity, but that's as far as it goes. It doesn't have any gremlin elements. It doesn't have any bent time nonsense. Time here, time there, time everywhere is the same time, and the fact is it just takes us a while to know what happens in some other location, because the stuff that's going to tell us what happened takes time to get here. That's it. My perception of reality can change. Reality doesn't change. That's their argument, that somehow the reality has changed, that something actually called time changes. No, that never changes. It's 10 o'clock everywhere in the universe, kind of thing. 9:21. Yeah, it's 9:21 everywhere. Shit. How do you know this? The whole video is the argument of how I know this. Okay, and the whole point is that why do you believe these people when they can be shown to be playing gimmicky games? They're hoodwinking. Okay, they're exaggerating preposterously. I mean, just a horrible exaggeration. The most proven theory in the history of mankind. Everybody. You wouldn't be able to, cut your fingernails without quantum mechanics. You wouldn't be able to do a damn thing. You'd be totally disabled without quantum mechanics. I mean, the insane exaggerations, just like the Tesla nonsense. Tesla invented electricity. Not even close to a truth. How do you know the universe is not more complex? So again, this argument that has to be, why would I assume it to be? That would be the first question, without any evidence. And I'm saying the evidence they provided of the complexity doesn't exist. So again, I think all scientists basically say, if I have two choices, gremlins are human failure, human error. If I have two things to pick as the probable solution, why would I choose the silly, stupid, exaggeratedly nonsensical, complex one when I can choose the one that looks just like perfect match, perfect fit? This is the one that fits. Why would I do that? So you're saying you're questioning my intelligence because I don't jump to silly conclusions. I accept that cars aren't going to magically pop off the ground and fly into somebody's window or some other kind of thing. Yes, I don't believe in preposterous things without really a preposterous amount of evidence. Okay, extraordinary claims give me at least ordinary evidence, and what I'm arguing is quantum mechanics is clearly making extraordinary claims, and they're providing less than ordinary evidence. Okay. than the way you describe it. So again, it's not about how I'm describing it. It's not about my counter theory. All right, this first argument is about why you have good reason to doubt what they've told you, what they're propping up as a theory of reality, which has every earmark of a religion. It has all of the signs of just crap, fable, nonsense, made up crapola. So that's the first argument. The second argument is me defending the fact that, yes, I can give you a model that's really simple that explains all of this stuff. It not only unifies physics, it makes it all quite coherent, and it makes it insanely simple. It makes it into a lot of MV kind of formulas. E equals MV. They're done. Simple. No catch-22s tied to everything. No complexity. That's right. It's really, really simple, and it works. And I'm going to defend that as being, yeah, that's the probable right answer. It not only explains more, it explains more completely. So, yeah, I'm voting for that. You vote the opposite way. Okay, I'm saying that's irrational. Yeah, I'm saying that. That's irrational to vote the other way. So I've shown you good reason to doubt them, and I've provided good reason, okay, to think a simpler model is the right answer, because they do work. And all they need is somebody to work on them. Okay? They've had hundreds of years to cabal their little pile of bullshit, to sit there and perfect their presentation of the Ken Wheeler Pharaoh sale nonsense. I've had 10 years. One person. They've had 1 million, 2 million, okay, scientists working hard on their horse shit. I'm one person for 10 years. Imagine what they could do with a simple theory if they had more minds working on it. But instead, they're all out chasing God. Clearly. Overtly. God particles. Alright. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so no thanks. Okay, my argument to you is, yeah, I thought about it. All right. Yeah, I didn't just sit there and say one day, oh yeah, I'm right and they're wrong. No, I've gone through it. I picked at it and picked at it and picked at it and picked at it. Again, I've given you a detailed drawing of the double slit, just so clear, so obvious, so easy to understand. How the mechanics work, that it's only a tiny portion of the light that actually hits the surfaces, and only that portion. See, now that we have really good lasers, the fact is this proof could probably be made by a good scientist, because they could take a little pinpoint laser and just shoot it through the middle of the slit, and they'd see it goes straight through. And then they could shoot it by the edge of the slit, and they'll see that, oh yeah, it bends all over the fucking place. And this whole thing would be over, right? All of quantum mechanics would be now reasonably questionable. So all I need is one good scientist to do an actual good experiment. All right, and it's over. And then you won't be sitting wasting time questioning my credibility. You'll be wondering, well, why did it take this long? Why did it take so long for physics to say maybe this isn't the right analysis? This extraordinary fable about elemental discrete objects splitting in two and going through both slits, and then becoming wave functions, and then superimposing themselves on every location in space, and then deciding to only land in one place, and blah blah blah. All that crap goes away. Yeah, so annoying. So anyway, yeah, that's it. There's nothing, So there are 3 videos on the front page of the website, so I guess we'll go there. I guess they're on the other page. What is energy? What is gravity? And what is a photon is the one I really want a channel to play. That's the 2-slit experiment. Because again, that's what the core of quantum mechanics exists on. Yes, of course, gravity is the whole relativity nonsense. So a sensible explanation for gravity, and we get rid of all the little bent wells and all the little sissy crap, and you actually have a mechanical explanation. You understand why there's gravity, okay? And you don't have to figure out why did space bend. What the hell is that? How does matter bend space? What the hell is that? How do you bend things in 3 dimensions? All of those questions go away because you have the right answers. But again, it just seems like there's just no life on Earth that wants to do that. Intelligence has just been lost to religion. They want their fables. They want to live lies. It's just so sad, pitiful. I can only hope that there are some nasty ass aliens out there that'll do the right thing and fry all of you, you know, to have one big barbecue. Fuck. This reasoning with you is just a waste of fucking time. Clearly. So far. Yeah. Sadly. I'm sad. Yeah. Quite depressing. Alright, so nothing else to say. But it does explain a lot of things. I mean, it explains the Trumpoxworthy. It explains why this human race is so fucking wasteful and fail. Ugh. Alright, so till the next time and such, so forth and whatnot. Fuck. It's so depressing. And such. It was a DraftScience video presentation. Blah, blah, blah.